to me, I'm being self-aware, not egotistical when I'm aligning with the things that I need to do to align with where I need to be in the cosmos. That's a declaration. Just like I make a declaration that I'm going to continue to make positive changes in this world beyond this physical body. This is not my first rodeo. And here we have a nice little walkway up here. It's probably not your first rodeo either. Zoning in on some of the things that we're going to talk about. The idea is to stop getting our ass kicked in the same way. But the purpose of one getting their ass kicked is to learn how to defend yourself. So there's a physical and a spiritual and a psychological and an emotional component to those four elements. Now I'm going to bring to term, or bring to your awareness, I'm going to reference a term, and it's called mudra. You've probably heard of mandala. Mudra, I believe, is the formation of the hands. So we're seeing a lot of these type of mudras, I guess, if you will, from far right. But you also have other things. This is about unleashing those dormant energies, awakening them. And sometimes somebody may unconsciously make certain hand postures or positions in order to help them focus. So later on the other platform, I'm going to talk about a series of hand positions that the Japanese in the esoteric Buddhist tradition borrowed from the Hindus. Quite a bit, actually, was borrowed. It was a sharing of knowledge, information from India to China to Japan. And now we have the modern MMA, in which a lot of people would like to put their own Jiu-Jitsu or Itsu stamp on their... The world of modern martial arts is just weird, because one could be really strong on one level for a while, and they may reach a certain age to where that strength doesn't end, it rechannels itself into the proper vessel. And so there's a lot of things that come to me, but the purpose of fulfilling our tasks here and exercising our talents in the most mindful ways, that's the goal here. I see these cell phone towers right over there. And so I want to challenge your superstitions, if you have any, regarding tapping into certain numbers, geometric shapes, hand positions, martial arts, breathing techniques, other areas of ancient history. You know, the devil's biggest trick is keeping the people enslaved to superstitions, that certain things are evil. Now, there was one YouTuber who's a Japanese man who teaches ninjutsu, and he was warning against the use of certain mudras, and channeling certain energies if it's for the wrong reason. And that, in a nutshell, is how we can sum up a lot of things and principles in this world. Whatever you do, it's about doing it for the right reason. We could talk about our body being a fusion of the elements. The West, by the way, is the direction on the Native American medicine wheel that is associated with the body. The North, the mind, the East, the spirit, and the South, emotions. And by tapping into each of the four directions, it's about tapping into that elemental energy. And did I say yet the tiger and the sun, as well as the fire element, are all likened to each other? And how subconsciously, without even knowing it, without even being in this life from an Eastern culture, we can have interests in certain things for a specific reason that later on in life, much, much later, all of a sudden things start sinking, and linking in. We're perceptive as humans, but we're also easily programmable. And so sensitive humans can also spend a lot of time programming themselves to be hard and stuff. tough and stuff, in line with the world's expectations. The problem with that is there could be confusion as to who they really are and if they've actually tapped into all their gifts and talents. And if you look at reality through the lens of a McDonald's straw, then there's all these other things that you're going to be missing. Here we have what looks like a carving of an owl on top of this post. We're going to walk in between the energies of the trees here. The more that I look at the types of things that have pulled me in over the years, right now there seems to be a quickening that a lifetime of learning certain things need to be brought together to the center. One thing that needs to be mentioned is the importance of the circle in the center. There was one lecture I was listening to by a guy getting into Norse spirituality, and he was talking about the Celtic cross has the circle in the center representing soul, and this is seen in various spiritual traditions. And it was believed that the Hopis and other tribes would be very cautious around people coming with the cross without a circle in the center, indicating the potential for a great imbalance or a misuse of those energies coming together. I'm going to pause at this moment as I talk about the synchronicity of a lifetime of different techniques that may seem totally different and separate spiritual traditions, but seeing them come together. Just as there's this knowledge of various cultures that have paid tribute to solar deities or a solar deity. Not all engaging in human sacrifice, but some traditions misusing the knowledge of the spiritual sun. And I believe that we are living in a time where we are going to see the return of the sun. And that is an esoteric understanding. And I came to that esoteric understanding without officially studying in any specific practices. The very act, the very spiritual, physical, emotional, etheric act of me being born into this body and stamped Alex Asansari. Circumstances happened by design to lead me in a certain worldview understanding, universal understanding within this body. Whereas if I did not have those experiences at all, I wouldn't have had those understandings. You know, when I was younger, I was lucky enough for a time to have some grounding experiences with other adults in this world, in this matrix, that displayed to me their strength. And so this world shows us the misuse of the elements, what it means to be strong, what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman. And we have malevolent forces in our world moving all the different elements around to put us in a state of confusion. And of course we are tapping into earth elements when we are looking at the computer, right? This is like your new year. This is the time to embark on something new, a new sacred practice. And so it's not so much about certain things being secret that you do that are spiritual, but it being about it being for you. And so that's what I'm spending my extra time talking about, the generalities of doing things for the right reason. And if we find ourselves harmed, we should find ways to maybe get that sheer flow going again. And some people may have more of a natural genetic disposition for breathing, for engaging in particular mandalas, mudras, chants. But I see the power in this. And I see how people are hypocritical when they criticize people chanting things from the East, yet people chant things here in the West all the time. USA, 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 or they may say namaste, like it's some sort of commercial. How many times do you see me greet you in and out with namaste, like it's some sort of commercial? And there's a lot of cookie cutter spiritualists in our society that sound alike, that do things alike, and there seems to be more of an emphasis on ritual, image, politics, than the actual thing. So there are things that are part of my own spirituality that I need to tap into. Then there are things that are there that I'm sharing with you. And there is the wisdom to know the difference, right? Where the line ends on the yin and begins on the yang. That is wisdom. And so there are certain things for different purposes and different seasons. Also engaging in something for a while, a meditation practice, and maybe doing that for a number of years, or a martial arts practice, or maybe a certain philosophical understanding, and then working on it, maybe not to the point of mastery, but to the point where you got it down. You've mastered it with the competency that you're capable of at present. Because competency potential is different in each individual. And that competency ratio can be adjusted based on your health, based on your wellness, based on your mindset. And so certain spiritual meditative rituals with the hands or otherwise are there to tap into that spiritual force and to do good with it. Okay, and there is a lot of misuse of the forces today, which is resulting in a slow decay and generalized collapse of this society. And I think the wisdom in realizing that there are certain things that are taking place that are inexcusable, unforgivable, is being able to let go. Do you realize how much I have tried to be a certain somebody, even within the research community, and earn people's respect? And it doesn't mean that there's something not valuable or worthy about that type of a goal, but it's so ego-driven. And the idea of needing to help other people. I do acknowledge energetically that we are connected as souls, so there definitely is a reason, a purpose, and wanting to see other people wake up, especially if somebody is born with a certain level of awareness and they're speaking of a certain truth that at present no other human is speaking of. So it's important to know what one's role is in this matrix. But it's also important to not fall out of balance, right? So I believe that there is a role. So I'm doing like a little bit of a philosophy integrating the yin and the yang, those types of elements. And this is a very linear Western society that doesn't understand the Eastern cyclical nature of all things. So it has a very linear way instead of a circular way with regards to understanding things and going about trying to accomplish certain things. But I'm going to conclude over here by this totem. It's important that we do things for the right reasons, even tapping into spirit animals, tapping into the earth elements, because the misuse of it is using it against creation, or being mesmerized by elements of the elemental forces that are engaged in some sort of natural desecration. One should have the wisdom to not have those types of idols, and to understand that having compassion for nature and venerating nature has more than one expression. And there are light expressions of it and there are dark expressions of it. And a lot of people that are born today have not yet tapped into the lighter expressions of it. They found ways to find appreciation for elements of the animal life once they nearly could kill them all, but they still have a long way to go with understanding people that live across the waters. So in a way, the ignorance and the disconnect from nations or from nature, there's a little bit of a slip there, but all these nations around the planet do come from nature. And so if we're going to be disconnected from each other on such a grand way, in which people weren't this disconnected from each other in the 80s. And the 80s were violent, the 80s had more overt skinhead activity, the 80s had more, even back then people were talking about like the end of civil behavior and those damn kids. And we can even see the cyclical nature of that type of looking down at the younger generation, representing somehow like the end of the world. Yeah, those kids that were acting like the youth gone wild in the 1980s were simply a reaction to the economic and the energetic and other cultural norms of that day and age. The same thing's happening today. Unfortunately, this natural world is something that we come and we look at like a museum. We have to designate some areas as parks that we don't completely destroy and burn up, because we haven't yet learned to completely engage with nature and to let it become a part of ourselves, a part of our actions, a part of our thinking, to be thinking naturally, to be behaving naturally amongst each other. And I've also recognized, I've tapped into that gratitude to the universe for the safety that I have experienced despite my fears. If we live in a world where we can identify that we are, at least for a number of years, being given the free rein to speak truth and not be silenced, many of you have the freedom to speak your truth. And you are less likely than me in some cases, or others, to be put away or euthanized, like some sort of a wild bear. And it's not so much that it's your job to become a speaker. I mean, I respect those that have chosen to stay off of Facebook all these years, and now I realize how important that actually was, now that I see the system that it's actually serving. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a place for them to speak truth within their own cells, to unchain themselves from the place that they've been. So helping others is one particular component, and there may be some lifetimes to where we're tasked with outreach efforts because of past prior lifetimes. And other humans may not realize it. They may not realize that a cosmic judge may have possibly sentenced us as per our probation, as a soul sentenced to the Earth prison planet. There literally could be probation requirements to speak the truth. For some souls, they may have a very special lesson to learn about preserving the Creator's creation. I'm Alex Ansary, and that's the final word. Interesting, brief, relevant, but also highly cosmic. Talk to you next time.